All right, joining me today is Melissa Croden, who fights Ashley Deen at LFA 195. That fight takes place on October 25th. So, Melissa, I wanted to start here. Obviously a good win in your last fight, but I want to take you back to maybe a little bit less fun. You got that Jackie Cavalcanti fight. I know maybe nobody wants to talk about the loss, but since then, Cavalcanti been on fire, tearing up the UFC.
Yeah,
So, what is it
that,
like being in a 5-round war with somebody who then goes on to do that?
it's it's an interesting experience. I mean, obviously, I held my own. It went to a decision, and a few like I think most of her fights in the UFC have been going to a decision. Uh, Only 3 rounds though. Just saying. However, that was a tough one because I was winning the first round. Got dropped. Won 2 rounds after that. So it was like is one of those things, the one that got away in a sense. But those kind of losses always have potential to, either make you go one of two ways. Like you're gonna sit and blame other people, yourself, shoulda, coulda, woulda, sit in that kind of state of mind, living in the past, or you can move forward, become a better fighter, and keep on going. And that's what I'm choosing to do. So clearly, I'm continuing to prepare and fight the best of the best. That's what I want. That's what I have been asking for. That's what I got. So it's cool. I'm glad she's doing well and good for her.
Yeah, and give me a little bit of that, the win and the learn mentality. I love that. But like, what was the biggest takeaway from you from that fight? Was there a big piece that you felt like you needed to change? Something about the game planning?
um, I just needed to. My biggest takeaway from that, I think, like I know what I'm doing. I know how to fight. I needed to trust myself more and just keep myself in a better mental state going in fights, like really pretending like that doesn't play into going into the cage. It does. So making sure that you're protecting your mind in that way, as a fighter and throughout camp is important. And I understand life happens, things happen, like there's more to life than fighting, and you kind of cross those bridges as they come. But honestly, like protecting your mind and keeping a healthy mind is really important. And I've prioritized that in this last camp, and like I feel in a really good place, and I've learned that was kind of like my big takeaway from that one. So I feel great.
I like that. And I like taking the mental approach to it too. Now, I got to ask you, because that's like obviously a very mature way of viewing things. You do only have 7 pro fights, right? But you have been fighting for now 8 years, right? 8 years ago, you made your amateur debut, 2016. And you kind of had a long amateur career. And I think you sometimes get overlooked for that reason. Was there
Mm-hmm.
a reason why you decided to take so many fights early in your career that way?
I just couldn't get set up with a pro fight, so I just kept taking amateur fights. And um yeah, like I wasn't like I was managing myself. Like I found myself quite a few of those fights just literally by messaging random promotions on Facebook. So I'm sure if I knew what I was doing or had some guidance in that regard, things would have moved along a little bit faster. But I just kept getting those amateur fights. And I mean, and then COVID happened, of course, so that like slowed things down. And now I'm 33 and still going at it.
Well, it seems to have worked out for you. Now, you said you wanted to turn pro earlier. So obviously, I got to ask, was it always kind of your goal to be a pro fighter? Like, when did this first turn for you and decide, like, this is where I want to go with this?
um, it was kind of it. I would say it was before my first amateur fight. I took like I went to Thailand when I first started training, and went and trained at Tiger Muay Thai for like 3 months, and kind of turned it into a bit of a test for myself, with the question in mind, do I actually really want to do this? So I kind of ground myself down there, went to Thailand, learned how to wrestle, which is kind of like, um, and like really just put pressure on myself to like see what it was actually like to train like that. And so I did, and came home back to Canada and was like, this is what I'm going to do. So I ended up quitting my full-time job and going back down to part-time and training as much as I could. And then I took my first amateur fight and just, yeah, kept going.
And so, you said it was like sort of a test run to see if you could live this life, if you wanted this life, if you were into it. But like, so was MMA always on the back of your mind? I knew you come from a traditional, martial arts background, but like, was MMA kind of always like something that you thought about when you were younger?
No, not at all. I thought I would just become a paramedic. Like that's my job right now. I'm a primary care paramedic, and that was kind of like my first love, my first goal in that kind of, in life. And then MMA just kind of consumed me, and yeah. So no, it wasn't always in the forefront.
I like that. I like that. Well, it certainly worked out. Now let's talk about the next time it gets a chance to work out, and that's of course LFA 195. Ashley Deen. So, like you said, you're trying to fight the best of the best in the LFA's bantamweight division. So, when they offered you Deen, what were sort of your first thoughts on her as your next opponent?
I thought it was a great matchup. Obviously, I took the fight, signed the contract. So, yeah, I think it's a great match. It's good experience, good hands, well-rounded, and well-rounded fight's good because it just opens doors to kind of showcase other things that I'm capable of. So, I think it's gonna be balanced. We'll say.
I like that. I like that. Now, I like to get a prediction on every single fighter I talk to. Do you think you got one for me? How's this one go down October 25th?
I have a few ideas. Let me ask you the same question.
You're asking for the game plan, huh? Well, I do like to see you tango on the feet, so I could see a knockout in there. How about that for my prediction? How about a second round knockout?
Let's say we're on the same page.
All right, all right. So I can't get necessarily a prediction out of you for that one. So let me ask you and end on this question. Jackie Cavalcanti gets signed to the UFC after winning the belt in that fight. She's vacated it, obviously, because that's where she goes next. So tell me, do you see this fight as the sort of showcase for you to get another shot at that? Is that sort of where we see ourselves going after this Ashley Deen fight?
The more I learn about how this sport actually works, kind of behind the scenes, the more you don't get solid answers for things like that. Like it's very much a timing thing. Like you see sometimes two LFA fighters fight for the belt. One wins, one loses, obviously, but they're both great fighters. They both get signed. That's happened before, but it's not always going to be the case. I think with 6-2, and just because I do have 100% finishing rate, I have a pretty good chance of getting that phone call, and that's what I'm hoping for. That's what I want, and that's what I'm going to ask for. So,
all
yeah.
right. All right. Well, we'll be hoping along with you once again, fans. This is with Melissa Croden, who fights Ashley Deen at LFA 195. Once again, that fight, October 25th. Melissa, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.